Sincerely Tommy, My Fab Finance, The Krabby Shack, just 3 of the companies started by Black women who are part of an annual event powered by the women's entrepreneurship blog In Her Shoes. It's titled The Beauties and Brains Behind the Brands 3. It'll celebrate and showcase 25 fly female entrepreneurs, many of whom have their businesses right here in Brooklyn, and I've been following that on Instagram every time you go out on a photo shoot.
Well, this year's installation, which will happen on July 27th, brings you inside the life of each entrepreneur via a photography exhibit where each woman is seen in her element. To tell us more, here are Renae Bluitt, the creator of the In Her Shoes blog, and the brains and beauty behind the event. Welcome back to BK Live.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we also want to welcome Alzo Slade. He is the photographer who created the exhibition. Mr. Slade.
Thank you.
And Lita Lewis, a trainer and fitness personality who is featured in the exhibition.
Hey.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to see all of you. So yes, I've been stalking you on Instagram just a little bit, watching your photo shoots, liking your pictures. First of all, for those of you who don't know, hopefully it's not that many, tell us about your blog and tell us how you came up with this concept.
Okay, so the blog is In Her Shoes. I launched it 6 years ago. It was like a holiday at my dad's house, and it was around that time when the economy was really starting to impact the economy, and especially smaller businesses. And I was just in business for a year with my PR company, Crush Media. And I was so inspired by the women around me, but I knew that living in New York is, you know, a unique experience. And I wanted to have a place online where these stories could be told and this inspiration could be found so that people all over the country and all over the world could really look into it and kind of be inspired by these women launching their brands.
Well, welcoming Miss Lewis then. You made a brand and you're building and getting further and higher here in Brooklyn, and you have a unique perspective on the fitness situation, especially for women of color in particular.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a lot about my brand is really targeting and speaking to that minorities in general, and really just being an example for a different body type that is not necessarily projected in mass media when it comes to women in health and fitness. So I say this quite often, I just want to be the change I want to see in the world, and take the words of Gandhi, and really just be a role model and a figure to those women of color that will never be, say, you know, super lean or super skinny, but you're really just focus on becoming the best versions of themselves and training hard to build strong.
So we're not going to veer too far off the subject, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the champion. Serena Williams has been getting some buzz about her body type by some other folks out there in the media who talk about her. The woman is a thoroughbred, the best athlete in the world.
Out there, right?
And they're just talking about that she's not
feminine, or she should be slim, and you know, there was the New York Times article that was critical, and a lot of people just outside of the culture don't really understand her body type and can see that as thick fit. That would qualify as thick fit, right?
Absolutely. It's funny, I've always found, even growing up running track and playing football, that I was very different. I carried a more muscular frame. And even as a young child, I remember being teased for that shape and having somewhat of a delt and a bicep and a tricep and these legs that I have. But I was really just the athletic girl, and my whole purpose was to really just be the best and dominate whatever sport that I was playing. But yet my peers would always tell me that I look boyish or more manly, and something that I deal with now as an adult. What's crazy is I'm super proud of my athletic abilities and also being a beacon and a role model for women that do want to train and lift weights in the weight room and don't have to compete with this idea of losing their femininity. So this whole, you know, shabacle online and these articles about Serena is really upsetting. But at the same time, I think it's a great time for people like myself and other people in our community to really step up and say, we are women, we're proud, and we're strong, and that's what makes us the best.
And she is fit, and her, you know, her track record and her being #1, I think that says it all.
Absolutely.
So Alzo, would you be mad with Serena as a model? You worked with 25 lovely ladies in Brooklyn.
I'm from the South. We carry a different standard of beauty down there than these people up here. So
enough said with that. So what was it like being the photographer on this project? And I guess here's one of the images, but I guess it was his work I was stalking. Yeah, because you weren't taking the pictures, you were in them. So he was the one taking the ones on Instagram too?
Well, he did a couple of behind the scenes, but
Okay.
let's just be clear. The images that we shared on Instagram are not the official images.
Oh, yeah,
They're
for sure.
behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, you're
Yes,
behind
so
the
it was
Gotta
between the
come
both
out
of us.
on the 27th.
Yes,
Yes.
you have
See
to
the
come out and
real
see
work.
it.
So
Yeah.
tell us about the work then.
I mean, it was an amazing experience. I was grateful that Renae approached me with the idea to help her bring this vision to fruition. We've been really good friends for quite some time now, and I've always been a supporter and a fan of what she does with In Her Shoes blog, and all of the women in my life, from my mother, stepmother, aunts, like friends, all are strong women. And so for me to be able to present these women through my lens and kind of engage my creativity as a tool to show the world that, success comes in different ways, beauty comes in different ways. So when you put them together, you have these beautiful 25 women that are changing their own world and in turn changing the world around them.
Perfect.
So to go back to you then, it was important to get these women sort of in context in what they do and express their business acumen. So what other kind of women and personalities and fields will we get to see on the 27th?
We covered so much territory. We have Trisha Lee, who owns Polish Bar of Brooklyn. We have Ashanta Sharif, who is a celebrity makeup artist. She's a lead makeup artist for Empire, which I'm sure everyone in here knows
Never
and
heard
loves.
of it.
Never heard of it. We have the owners of the Krabby Shack, which you mentioned, which is an excellent restaurant right here in Brooklyn. We have Kayla Walker. We have Ty Beauchamp, who is the host of TLC's Dare to Wear. We have Jodie Patterson. She has an online beauty business called Dubot Beauty. I mean, I'm really proud. Like I'm probably going to shed some tears of joy when I walk into the room and see all of these images in the entire body of work, because I'm just proud of what Black women are doing right now. We are starting businesses at 6 times the national average. And I really wanted to celebrate that and to kind of just celebrate this moment in history. So we're doing so many amazing things, and we just needed to capture that energy and support each other, which is the overall mission of the blog. Not only am I shining light on these entrepreneurs, I want us all as a community to support these businesses and help keep them going.
In my brain, I see this as also being something that people will look back on 10 years, 15, 20 years from now and being like, wow, look what they documented in terms of Black women entrepreneurship. And it kind of like the marketplace is kind of demanding it. A lot of people are starting their businesses because they're not making enough money or they want to follow their passion, particularly when you started the blog right around that, economic downturn time.
Yes.
So what for you was most inspirational when you were watching these women?
It was very interesting. Like, I know that these women were selected because they are leaders in their respective industries, but to really, get to know them, and, I was also scheduling, so I wore about 20 different hats and 20 different shoes on this project, but to talk to them and be like, I'm going to be in this country this day and here, and then I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I'm like, and you're squeezing us in? Like, how are you doing this? And one shoot in particular that kind of reminds me of that is Jodie Patterson. She has 5 children. And we're at her shoot, and 3 of her children were off school that day. So I was like, ooh, how is this gonna work out? But it was fun. Her children obviously are very well behaved, but we shot her in her home office in Brooklyn. And Alzo was shooting, I didn't realize this, but he was shooting anyway, even when they were in the shot. But then out loud, I said, you know what, let's not fight against what's going on here. Let's let them be in the background, doing their thing. So her photo to me, really told the story of, she's this strong, powerful woman, running this brand, but her kids are going crazy in the background, but it's beautiful,
Plate spinning.
Yes.
So I want to ask Lita and Renae then, from the perspective of a lot of African American women of color are entering these as entrepreneurs at 6 times the rate. So what's the biggest bar to, number 1, taking a leap towards entrepreneurship, and then number 2, getting to the next level where you build the brand and you become the boss? Like, what are those 2 things to get over?
Yeah, it's funny. I've been asked that before, Brian. I personally,
Sorry,
I know that it's not unique in any way. I think the reason I mentioned that is I've never been able to really answer that question. For me, when I first moved to the United States, I worked in corporate America in a job that I enjoyed. It was online media and publishing. I started competing in the sport of bodybuilding on the side as a hobby. And while I was doing this, I was sharing my journey and the progression of my body and also my mental state as well on social media, essentially building the brand that we now know as Thick Fit. What happened was, every day I was walking into this office and realizing, although I liked my job, I didn't love it, and it wasn't feeding my spiritual health and happiness. Until one day, after receiving certain emails from women all over the world, really, that started off with, because of you, I was able to achieve, that were so real to me and so touching, that I remember just, personally just praying about it and thinking, well, if this makes me feel such happiness and so much joy, and also now shared literally among the world, that it was time to jump in the deep end and just work it out.
So you got because of you emails before you even made the leap.
Yes. Can I toot my horn?
Yes.
A little?
Oh, that's like, look at God. That's a good thing. So we literally have about 90 seconds left, so I'm going to ask you for the details where we can see Alzo's work and tickets and all that stuff, and I'm going to do a very unfair thing and ask you to give like 3 things that you could do today to make the way easier tomorrow for you to start your entrepreneurial path.
Okay. Well, surround yourself with amazing people like Alzo, like Lita, who support your dream. 2, believe in yourself, because you can't do it if you don't believe in yourself. And 3, believe that you deserve a life of happiness. I do use the hashtag do what you love a lot, but it's bigger than just doing what you love. It's about living a fulfilled life and, hopefully living a longer life because you're just genuinely happy and enjoying what you're doing. The event is taking place on July 27th here in Brooklyn in Dumbo at 26 Bridge, which is the address and the name of the venue. You can buy your tickets online at ihsbeautiesbrains.eventbrite.com.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, congrats.
Thank you.